Great uprising, great uprising. Free people came across this information and chose to share it. I don't know if YouTube going to allow it, but me I push it out there.
Davis, Fox 21. We're pulling into the post office parking lot.
This was last Wednesday in Farmington when an officer noticed that blue BMW didn't have an official license plate and started to pull the driver over.
Police, reason for the stop today is there's no registration on your vehicle.
The driver, Chase Allen, wouldn't identify himself to the officer or give any vehicle registration.
I don't need registration and I don't answer questions.
This went on a few times.
Are you going to provide me your identification?
I don't answer questions.
Okay, so I'm going to take that as a no, that you're not going to provide me your identification.
Eventually, Allen gave the officer a passport that identified him as Chase Allen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chase Allen.
That is not me. That is a piece of plastic paper.
So you have a fraudulent passport?
No.
The officer then told Allen to get out of the car.
Okay, step out of the car for me.
No.
And when he didn't, another officer started trying to get him out.
That escalation of force from verbal to hands-on, in my opinion, was absolutely reasonable and appropriate.
Officers noticed Allen move his cell phone from one hand to the other and move his other hand in the direction of the gun in a holster on his hip.
Gun.
5 officers shot at Allen several times. They tried helping him with first aid after the shooting, but he died. Officers found the gun on the floor of the car.
I say it's just a tragic ending to what started out as an everyday traffic stop. The proverbial routine traffic stop ended in tragedy.
The EPA update.
Now, give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise. Very interesting bit of information. Very, very interesting bit of information. And I wouldn't mind I break it down for my people. Because this is what happens when people not properly educate themselves or properly inform. And when people follow some of these gurus, this is a kind of situation will happen.
Davis, Fox
Number
21.
one.
We're pulling into the post office parking lot.
This was last Wednesday in Farmington when an officer noticed that blue BMW didn't have an official license plate and started to pull the driver over.
Police, reason for the stop today is there's no registration on your vehicle.
The driver, Chase Allen, wouldn't identify himself to the officer.
Strike one. Number one. The public officers out there is to regulate and ensure the safety of the public. Yes, them have private contract, but they also have a public contract. And for I personally, I don't advise them kind of attitude and behavior. It's pure illiteracy and non-communication on the part of the driver, because he is a driver. I've never experienced nothing like this with no police officer on the road. The very first thing, police officer stop you and make you know, say a vehicle is not registered or properly registered or it do not have on a license plate. And the police officer asks who you are. Now, a man like me have no problem identifying myself and presenting them with whatever documentation I carry. And from there, I would ask for a supervisor who may be authorized to contract and may have a little more knowledge than just the probably whoever is in front of me at the moment. So there is no escalation. And if you say, hey, I don't like you, I'm going to arrest you, go ahead, arrest me, and we can sort it out in the courts where you have learned people there that is much more advanced than these public officers, you know what I mean? Or policy enforcers that wear two hats. They have a hat where they enforce policy, and they have a hat where they have to adhere to the constitutional laws that are in place. This is how these things go. So the moment they must say identify yourself and they must act like this, then it will become problematic.
Officer or give any vehicle registration.
I don't need registration and I don't answer questions.
This went on a few times.
Are you going to provide me your identification?
I don't answer questions.
That a foolishness. What you mean you don't answer question when you just did? You're a dumb man. You gave your life away because you're, on one of those uninformed trip, uneducated trip. You follow the YouTubers. You don't do your own research. You follow the YouTubers, these guys who know everything but do nothing at all. And this is what happened. I don't advise these things. What do you mean you don't talk, you don't answer question, and the man said, are you not going to provide the ID? And you're going to answer the question by saying, I don't answer question. I bet you just stay silent, dummy. And give the man your passport. And then he will run your information and make sure you're correct. And why you not notify them, say, hey, I have my personal armament with me. Because your documents where them are going to look and research, I got say you give them public notice. So when them show these things out here and bring these things forward, it's intentional. But for a man like me, I say right through it, because it demonstrates so you have people out there where mislead other people and put them in danger. There is no way. This is why I was so confident when I chose to travel. Because number one, I said there is no police should be in there who cannot read and write. And the moment any man can read and write, then I should not have a problem. We should not have a communication barrier. The moment you can read and write, there will be no communication barrier. And these are the type of conduct where I do not endorse. This is why I say, arm yourself with correct knowledge first. Put yourself in a capacity that you're outside all of these corporate constructs. None of these people have done these things. None out there until I.
Okay, so I'm going to take that as a no, that you're not going to provide me your identification.
Eventually, Allen gave the officer a passport that identified him as Chase Allen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chase Allen.
Now, if you have done that, if you are willing to do that, why was all the mess and advocacy for? What was that about? This is where the illiteracy come in. If I have a driver's license, when I have a driver's license and police stop me, I use a world passport as my travel document. And when I have a driver's license and I show the officer the driver's license, the officer, this wasn't the street officer, this was the detective sergeant at the time. Because when me and him go in a meeting, and me I express to him what me I deal with, I'm going to present my birth certificate, which I endorse. I'm going to present my driver's license, which I also endorse. And the detective sergeant took away my document, literally took it, confiscated, and said this is forgery, this is fraud, and evidence, so they can use it against me in court, and I get an additional charge for that. For my birth certificate, which I endorse, When I say I endorse it, I write some information on the front of the document, on the face of the birth certificate. And by doing that, I nullify that instrument. That instrument becomes null and void. That's at that specific time, so it cannot be used against me. That's what I did. And with my driver's license, I place a adhesive United States $1 stamp, which represents 1 troy ounce of gold on the back of my driver's license. Yeah. And I cancel that stamp, making me the postmaster of that instrument. When I went to court, I did other paperwork. Whenever I go to court, you know, I open my own court there. I always have my own court. 2 courts are, you know, in operation at that time. So when I went to court, this was when a lady judge in the Ahuuahkhuu criminal court, she was very animated. That's the day they tried to charge me and my witness at the time, Tibo, for taking pictures and videos of the court or outside the court or whatever that was. But you know, they always try to escalate my situation. But when I place some documents on the court, specifically I place a federal document stating I have a right to record any public officers at any time without their consent, as long as they're in their public capacity. I cannot do that when I know they're private with their families. But the moment you come out acting as a police officer, I can do that. And I placed that document in the Jamaica court, and that changed everything. The next time I went to court, everybody had phone. You know what I mean? And that very day, that judge said, listen, my authority comes from the Governor General. This lady was animated. Why? Because I unseat every single judge that came in front of me. And this lady refused to let me speak. She's like, you're not going to take over this court. You're not going to speak. Animated like that. And when she do allow me to speak, then it was beautiful. I unseat her. And I, you know, direct her to the documents that's there. And then this lady was talking on my behalf because the prosecutor at the time, the gentleman said, Mr. Dallas said the laws of the government of Jamaica do not apply to him. And the lady judge was like, what? Very animated. I'll never get this lady name. I'm going to ascertain it later. Very animated. Beautiful lady. Not even Parliament? That's what the lady's shouting out in the court. That's even the prosecutor looked like him get afraid. He was like, not even Parliament, mom. And that good lady just sit back in her chair and look at me and say, well, he has that right. But if he wants to go on an island by himself, he better have a coconut tree. And she went on a whole different, you know, path. Only because I know it was all a show. So what I did was just use some information, paper on words on paper, ink on paper, writing, not just talking. And I place it in the court, and that changed everything. So my situation is completely different. This never have to happen if people have information, if people choose to be lawful and correct. Once you're lawful, you don't have no problem or engage or talk to any police officer, any soldier. They are called public officers. They are all officers of the court. Every single one of them, irrespective of how bad they purport themselves to be. You understand? And I say, if you are traveling and you have to move from an office of an executor, that's where your authority come from. I don't listen to these gurus out here, because most of these gurus are foreign to my land. All of these people are foreign to my land. This is why when I make my claim, it's a little bit unique, because I don't approach it like a slave, and I don't ask permission from any non-existent insolvent corporation. And as man, there's no other man who will come give me a talk outside a contract. You can't tell me you're a soldier. You can't tell me you're police. And you can't tell me you're a politician. Are you not man? Then what right do you have? Where is your delegation of authority or authority of delegation? Where is it? If it not come from my office, it not exists. So these are the things what people have, well, this is how I approach this thing, with logic and reason. I can tell you why I'm doing this, and I can show you the practicality of all. That's it. Not this complexity with these foreign people. All of these people are foreign to my land. And them come and teach my people a lot of foreign mess. Rearrange it. It's like when Babylon would tell my people, oh, it's wisdom, it's knowledge, and it's understanding. No. Knowledge is data. It's information. So knowledge has to come first. Then when you remove the contradiction from that data, from that knowledge, from that information, then you will get comprehension, what them call understanding. And from that understanding with your application, that's where you exercise wiseness. So it's knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. So they turn it upside down and give it to you folk out there. So you're operating, finding it hard to function. Yeah. Take it up then, man. Great uprising. Everybody has a grand uprising. So we have to take it to a next level. Great uprising. I people. I free people. We can only do that with correct knowledge. It's only our knowledge that can make us free. Only our knowledge that can make us free. Not what some guru I try to teach with.
That is not me. That is a piece of plastic paper.
So you have a fraudulent passport?
No.
The officer then told Alan
Listen to all that narrative. That's not me. That's typical YouTube garbage. Typical YouTube nonsense. It shouldn't cost you your life. It should, listen, condolences to the families of this, situation here. It is sad. It should never have cost you your life. But this is what happened. Remember, you're going to say 100 police, but how much of the police them really, stable with all of the stress, especially here on my island? You think me going to play them kind of game there? Me have a whole pro box and my pro box tint up on all of these things. The moment a police officer stop me, any public officer, it's my pleasure to stop and teach this man or woman. I don't have a problem with that. So if me I go down the road and, him didn't stop, that's a lie, and that will be a blatant lie. Because I am not a, dumbo. I'm not that. I might not be one of your scholarly people. But I'm not one of those dummy. And because I can speak and I can read just a little, and I love to write, I write much, much better than how I talk. Yeah. So I don't have a problem. So this is the kind of situation where create catastrophe for others. And we have to highlight the fact that although you lost your life, you gave it away. You gave that away. Worse, you're there and you're armed. Are you silly? Can't do that.
Alan to get out of the car.
Okay, step out of the car for me.
No.
And when he didn't, another officer started trying to get him out.
that escalation of force from verbal to hands-on, in my opinion, was absolutely reasonable and appropriate.
No, that wasn't reasonable and appropriate. You said the moment this man has said him not consent to nothing what una do, what una have to do is get your supervisor there. And if you spot a gun, all you officers were to do is back away from that vehicle. That's it, you know, and you get your negotiator on the phone if it become a situation. You guys are too gun-ho. Me, I'm glad it wasn't a copper color man looking like me. Because then it would have politicized even more when this good brethren here don't know the brethren. I say you conduct the driver, this driver with his passport, refused to show ID and then I go show ID. You gave your life away. You understand? And you do that because, you know, you probably think because you're light skinned, you're going to be excused. No, man. On the island here, I do not advise none of my people to carry or conduct themselves this way. You understand? You have to do a whole bunch of things first, giving notice first. If they don't get the notice or ignore the notice, that's their problem. You place your information on the public record. And when it's there, that office is supposed to notify the specific agencies. You understand? And by courtesy, you give them notice outside of the public record. That's my approach. I keep it simple. I keep it simple. Why? Because in Utah, which is America mainland over there, these police officers that I'm looking at originally is not from this location. They're what you call Europeans, so-called, because they are not even originally from Europe. And I know these things. So there is no way none of you foreign people can claim jurisdiction over my people unless my people consent. You understand? This is why we can dismiss your courts with ease. You understand? But this situation is a tragic situation that should never have happened. And this is why I choose to be a bit more reticent, because a lot of people want the information, but they do not want to apply themselves. They just want a specific tagline. And when they get jammed up, that's when they realize how serious this journey can be. If you don't have the knowledge, just stand down and learn. Don't just go follow people on YouTube and you want to put yourself in a position and you do not have the knowledge. You understand? In other words, you're not qualified. And we have too much unqualified people who want to do all kinds of things. And this is where we're going to have incidents like these. I don't think the police officer can get a job in this time without being able to read and write. Not even with nepotism that can work anymore. You understand? So there should not be a lack of communication. And it's only when you're criminal or criminal-minded or with criminal intent, then you're going to be evasive. Are you insane? When I'm in my lawful capacity, my lawful capacity supersedes all policy. And I know this. I am your boss. And I'll express it and I'll demonstrate it. So there is no police officer we are going to come in front of me and say, hey, I'm inspector this or I'm commissioner that. I am your boss. And I know it. You know it too. But you probably want me to demonstrate it. And this is why I love going into the courts. I don't have a problem going there, especially when my resources there where I don't have to twist and turn. You understand? So when I don't have knowledge, stand down so I can learn and be humble. Don't go out there acting like y'all, you know what I mean? This will be your end results. Silly. But these police officers act excessively. Yeah, man, but it represents something because I don't know, I forgot to find out if this guy is Hispanic or what he is.
Officers noticed Allen move his cell phone from one hand to the other and move his other hand in the direction of the gun in a holster on his hip.
Gun, 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 gun.
Now the gun is holstered. The gun is on his hip. Come on, people. There's no imminent danger. Even when him are moved, all the officers should command him. Hands on the steering wheel. People, when you get pulled over, you put your two hands on the steering wheel. And when you're going to do anything, officer, I'm going to get my wallet or I'm going to get these documents. And you understand? Because remember, people, you're lawful on the road. You're correct on the road. So you don't have no reason to do anything silly. You don't have no reason to escalate the situation when it is unnecessary. And we have too much hot-headed people out there, especially our kind of people. Them get a little information by YouTube and them just run and act silly. And when trouble come, them point fingers. A lot of the YouTube people ain't doing what they're saying. 98% of the YouTubers do not do what they say. 98%. And 98% are there for profit or gain. They're doing commercial business on YouTube. 98%. So when you run into these people and just let them tell you a lot of mess, and you go out there and get jammed up, you quickly realize you're on your own. Quickly. Can't function that way. If you have knowledge. Without knowledge, my people suffer. And because they choose to reject knowledge, then knowledge are going to choose to reject them.
Five officers shot at Allen several times. They tried helping him with first aid after the shooting, but he died. Officers found the gun on the floor of the car.
I say it's just a tragic ending to what started out as an everyday traffic stop. The proverbial routine traffic stop ended in tragedy.
Proverbial routine traffic stop ending in tragedy. Condolences out there. Or condolences. But again, my people, if we choose to reject knowledge, then don't be surprised when knowledge chooses to reject you. It's as simple as that. Free will exercise. You choose, and when you choose, you have to become active. You have to participate. Salute to the free people out there. Complete respect with power.